Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Lightfoot.
If you could read what a tale my thoughts could tell.
For Gordon Lightfoot, it's always been more about the song than the singer. Funny thing is, he didn't plan it that way. The Canadian folk icon is among the most successful and enduring singer-songwriters in history. Bob Dylan said that whenever he hears a Lightfoot song, he hopes it never ends. Lightfoot songs have been recorded by hundreds of artists, including Judy Collins, Elvis Presley, The Replacements, Barbra Streisand, Eric Clapton, Alison Krauss, Joan Baez, Tony Rice, and Dylan. And there are over 300 recorded versions of If You Could Read My Mind.
What a tale your thoughts could tell.
Just like a paperback novel,
the kind the drugstore sells.
And when you reach the part where the heartaches call,
the heroine would be me.
Unlike many Canadian stars, Lightfoot never left to pursue broader success and never softened the strong Canadian presence in his songs, even when he knew it was limiting his career. Blue Rodeo's Jim Cuddy said, Lightfoot's songs were always part of the landscape, and it really meant something that he never moved to the States. For Lightfoot, it meant frustrating years watching his songs become hits for U.S. artists while he scrounged for a major label deal.
Clouds are gathering over my head.
Marty Robbins' cover of Ribbon of Darkness topped the country chart for 7 months. Peter, Paul and Mary had hits with Early Morning Rain and For Loving Me, but when they met him, they asked him if he sang. In 1965, 3 albums featuring Early Morning Rain made the top 50, none of them his. Asked about this costly commitment to home, Lightfoot said with characteristic restraint, I'm a bit of a homebody.
So fine, where you spend. I come so close and I'm caught again.
Long before he was a songwriter, Gordie Lightfoot was the boy soprano wonder of Orillia, Ontario, the town that inspired humorist Stephen Leacock's fictional Mariposa, for which the Mariposa Folk Festival was named when it launched there in 1961. Lightfoot's mother encouraged his singing, enrolling him in choir, where he soon soloed. On Parents' Night, his school principal piped his singing through the PA speakers, and he often sang at local cultural events. His mother rewarded him with dinky toy cars, which may explain his relatively sanguine reaction to later career frustrations. Who needs Grammys when you've got a mantle full of dinky toys? In 1960, his voice now a warm baritone, Lightfoot joined the Singin' Swingin' 8 on CBC's Country Hoedown, where he met guitarist Red Shea, who, along with guitarist David Ray, would later shape Lightfoot's propulsive folk sound.
I was born to learn the reason why.
He started writing at age 17 with the Hula Hoop Song, but it wasn't until 1963 that he found his artistic voice in the burgeoning folk scene of Toronto's Yorkville district. Honest songs about life, love, and the land. The Canadian landscape was lovingly sketched in early Lightfoot songs like Long River and 16 Miles.
Where the long river flows, it flows by my window. 16 miles to 7 lakes way up among the pines. In some hidden valley where the twirling river twines.
Where most sing Early Morning Rain as a lament, his version is anguished and desolate.
In the early morning rain, with no place to go.
Canadian folk stars Ian and Sylvia recorded Early Morning Rain, opening a floodgate of U.S. artists covering Lightfoot songs. Finally, in 1966, United Artists released his eponymous major label debut, a hit in Canada, but not in the States. In 1971, Lightfoot signed with Warner, who released a single of the album's only cover, Chris Christopherson's Me and Bobby McGee. It flopped. But DJs started playing another track, which became so popular, Warner rushed to release it as a single.
You could read my mind, love. What a
Lightfoot finally had a major hit as a singer, as well as songwriter.
like an old-time movie.
As a result, Warner wanted to rename the album, If You Could Read My Mind. But he refused, until an executive asked him to recall his schoolboy algebra, explaining the sales difference was between X and 8 times X. Lightfoot regularly scored crossover hits on pop, country, and easy listening charts. In 1977, Sundown reached number 1 on both album and singles charts. Lightfoot was a bona fide superstar, even in the States.
Creeping round my back stairs. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs.
His personal songs seemed revealing, but lyrics are often cobbled together from disparate images and experiences, not always his. Carefree Highway was inspired by a road sign. 10 Degrees and Getting Colder by a hitchhiker. Still, Lightfoot has a scholar's devotion to accuracy. He took a 13-hour trip to Hornpain, Ontario to fact-check a line about the trains running on time there. For the CBC-commissioned Canadian Railroad trilogy, he studied the building of the Canadian Pacific in the 1880s, the country's first transcontinental railway. No song was more meticulously researched than Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. A careless article about the 1975 Great Lakes shipwreck enraged him. It even misspelled Edmund. He would do justice to the 29 sailors who died.
The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy.
That passion for truth led to an extraordinary gesture. When he wrote the song, it was believed the hatches had been left open, suggesting crew error. When divers found the wreck, it was split in two and the hatches were locked. Lightfoot rewrote his verse about the hatches and made sure the crew's families heard it, especially 82-year-old Ruth Hudson, whose son Bruce had been responsible for the hatches.
At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, fellas, it's been good to know ya.
He also changed a line in If You Could Read My Mind, written about his divorce, replacing I'm just trying to understand the feelings that you lack with the feelings that we lack, after his daughter said, wasn't it a two-way street, Daddy? In recent years, Lightfoot has publicly apologized for misogynistic lyrics in his early songs and refuses to sing his cruel-hearted hit For Loving Me. He's also been admirably open about his long battle with drugs and alcohol, hoping it might help others. Today, he maintains a Road Warriors touring schedule, but always comes home for his annual concert residencies at Toronto's Massey Hall. Shows so popular, the Toronto Symphony Orchestra schedules its vacations around them. Lightfoot is a one-man cultural institution in Canada, awarded the Order of Canada and a postage stamp. His hometown, Orillia, has its Lightfoot Days, a Lightfoot Trail, Gordon Lightfoot Auditorium, and a 13-foot Lightfoot statue. As Sylvia Tyson put it, he came to represent Canada and the land. Asked how he'd like that legacy to be remembered, Gordon Lightfoot says, I'd just like to leave a clean campsite behind.
Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away.